Yeah, welcome back to another episode of the Format Podcast. We're here today, and you know what we're going to do. We're going to talk some hoops, and definitely we are going to talk the process, a.k.a. the guy I've nicknamed Dream 2.0. No, I'm not saying he's as good or better than Olajuwon, but we'll get to it. Anyway, before we get to that, you know what we got to do. Listen, if you haven't already, go ahead, click that subscribe, that like, and that notification bell so you know when new episodes come out. If you want the audio-only version of the podcast, go to your audio podcast platform, type in the Format Podcast, do a quick search. It'll bring us right up. You go ahead and subscribe there. Please give us that 5-star review. Leave us a comment here on YouTube. And make sure you share the podcast with other sports fans who you know want to hear that good sports talk. All right. Okay, let's get right to it. So Joel Embiid, the process, Dream 2.0. You know, I did a show a little while back, maybe a few weeks or a month ago. Definitely got some attention, and a lot of people started messaging me. I put little shorts on TikTok and Instagram and here on YouTube, and people were messaging me and they were saying, hey, you know, you're being disrespectful calling Embiid Dream 2.0. So let me be clear about this, right? I'm not saying Embiid is as good as Olajuwon. If you watch this show or you know me, you know I have Olajuwon as my 5th greatest basketball player of all time. I don't have Embiid being as good as Dream or being better than Dream. The reason I call him Dream 2.0 is because watching his skill set, the things he can do is very reminiscent of Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon. Even Dream himself said that when he watches Embiid, you know, he sees a lot of himself. So, you know, that's very, very great praise from, in my estimation, the greatest big man who ever played, and if not the greatest, one of the greatest, right? On top of that, like I've been saying, in this era of NBA basketball, Embiid is just absolutely unguardable if given the ball in a position to succeed, right? And when he's really locked in. So, what are we, 11, 12 games into the season now, 14 games. Philadelphia is 7-7 right now. And James Harden starts off the season. He's averaging 22 and 10 assists per game, right? So you're thinking, okay, 10 assists per game. He's getting everyone involved, but it's a weird dynamic, right? I never thought that James Harden was the right fit for getting with Joel Embiid, right? Again, if you know me, if you listen to the show, you've heard me say time and time again, modern NBA guards do not know how to make a post-entry pass. Now, it's not all their fault, but the fact that you're a guard, you don't know how to make a post-entry pass is beyond me, right? So it's partly their fault. It's partly coaching. It's partly the way the game is played now, lack of true back-to-the-basket bigs, etc., right? But you've got one in Joel Embiid, so that's something that you should learn. I've also said, if I'm Doc Rivers, if it's me coaching this team, every single possession down the floor, I want Embiid on the low block, and I'm starting the possession, trying to get him the ball there, and if possible, ending the possession with him either getting fouled or putting it in the basket, or both, right? So I'm looking at it, and I'm seeing Harden starts the season. He's averaging 22 and 10. At the beginning of this month, I think around the 3rd or the 4th of November, he got ruled out for about a month or so with a foot injury. They're not exactly sure when he'll be back, but I said Embiid and Harden, to me, are not quite the right fit together, right? Harden has played most of his career, basically since leaving OKC and becoming the guy that we know he is. He's been a monster in the pick and roll, and Embiid can play the pick and roll, but to me, that's not the best way to utilize his ability and his skill set, right? So Harden, for him to get assists, it has to be in very specific ways. It's got to be in the pick and roll, or it's got to be drive and kick, right? And that's not Embiid's cup of tea, right? If he goes to the block, feed him there. It's pretty simple. So anyway, with Harden getting his numbers, even though he's getting 10 assists per game, you see Embiid, he's having a pretty solid season, right? He's averaging 27 points per game. He's getting 9.5 rebounds per game. He's got a plus minus of minus 1.5. There's a reason I'm telling you all this. He's not shooting it well from three. 30%, 78%, 79% from the free throw line, right? Also, what are we looking at? 3.3 assists per game. This is from the start of the season up until the beginning of this month when Harden went down with injury. And again, I said it, they're not a good fit together. And then what happens? So I'm talking to my buddy right when Harden gets hurt. And I told him, I said, yo, watch. Embiid is about to go nuts. Okay. Now, small sample size. I think it's only 3 games. No, it's 4 games. But since Harden got hurt and went down, and you never wish for anyone to get hurt, right? But now you start looking at Embiid and you're like, whoa, wait a minute. Embiid is averaging, without Harden on the floor, 40 points, 11 rebounds, 5.5 assists, 2.8 blocks, almost 3 blocks per game, right? He's shooting 86% from the free throw line, right? He's now his 3-point shooting has gone down, and I kept saying I don't know why he's shooting so many threes. He's a dominant mid-range shooter, but stop with all the threes. Go to the block and get busy. This is 2022 NBA. There's no one who can guard you down there, right? He's 53% field goals overall. So I say all this to say you're watching Embiid go nuts without Harden. He's averaging 40. Now, am I saying he's going to continue to average 40? No, he's Embiid. He's not Wilt, right? And realistically, in the modern NBA, the way the game is played, you don't shoot the 3 well, and this is clearly not a league where you're just going to feed the post over and over again. I would. It's just like football, right? Most teams in football don't pound the rock the way they should. I would, because most teams are not built to defend that. But anyway, that's a different story. So, yeah, you see Embiid is averaging 40 and 11 and almost 5.5 assists and 3 blocks. And so you're saying, whoa, what's going on here? What's going on here is the process, a.k.a. Dream 2.0, is now again living up to his nickname. The guy is an absolute monster. So let's think about this. Who's the best defensive center in the NBA? Probably Rudy Gobert, right? When Rudy Gobert has played against a healthy Embiid, he has gotten eaten alive. This is why I say there is nobody in the modern NBA who can defend this guy, okay? The other night, we saw Embiid put up one of the greatest stat lines in modern NBA history, right? Modern NBA history, I'm saying. And he had 59 points, 11 rebounds, 8 assists, 7 blocks. I mean, what kind of stat line is that? Again, nobody's calling him Wilt. Nobody's calling him Shaq. And I'm trying to think. I don't even know that Shaq had a complete stat line like that. Now, of course, Shaq had to play against real dominant bigs, right? Embiid, for the most part, does not. But we just look at this and we're saying, look at what this guy is doing. Look at what he's capable of. And so at the end of the day, he doesn't need to be playing with a guard like Harden. Now, of course, it's always good to have that second scorer, but I think that Embiid would be better served to be in a situation where he's got a guy or he's got a number of guys around him and he is just the guy. Now, if your second scorer is averaging maybe 17, 18, right? And playing again in a way that is feeding you the ball on the low block consistently over and over and over. So what would Embiid be doing? He'd be wearing out the opponent's front line, getting everybody in foul trouble. And he's a big who clearly can knock down his free throws. So sending him to the line is not a strategy you can use, right? Again, since Harden's been out, he's been averaging 86% from the free throw line. So fouling him isn't going to get it done. He's deadly in the mid-range, so trying to keep him out of the paint isn't going to get it done. And we've seen time and again that when he's on the block, they can't defend him. So what do you do? What is Doc Rivers doing? Doc Rivers, why aren't you taking it back to the old school right now? Because if there's nobody that can defend him, I mean, this is easy, right? I really don't understand it. But anyway, so I've been calling him Dream 2.0, and I see Dream 2.0 is back again. And it looks like, you know, he will be doing major damage until James Harden can get back on the floor. Now, the key will be when James Harden gets back on the floor. Now, how are they going to go ahead and arrange this thing? How are they going to work it out so that James Harden can kind of re-ingratiate himself back into the offense without taking away from Joel Embiid's dominance? This is a problem, right? Joel Embiid is more traditional big in the manner that he needs a guard to get him the ball. You look at a guy like Giannis, even though he's a big, he's a power forward, but he's a guy, his teammate can take the ball out, he can get it, bring the ball up, initiate offense, and really literally take it from one end to the next, right? Embiid, being more of a traditional back to the basket type big, needs someone to feed him the ball. So I think we've got issues here in trying to figure out coaching and trying to figure out, can Harden adapt to playing with that type of guy consistently and understanding this is a guy who we need to jump on his back and we need to take him as far as he can carry us. So my question for you is, how good do you think Embiid is? How good do you think, how far do you think he can carry his 76ers? And do you think there's room in the NBA for a dominant back to the basket big, reminiscent of the old days? All right, leave your comments in the comment section. Look forward to hearing them. And I'll get with you next time. And I'm out. Peace.